Love. You are, like I said, watching a podcast of Love Over Coffee, Voices Not Heard. So, I do want to make sure. Hey, Angel, this is not an easy story to hear. So trigger warning. If there is some part of this story that triggers you at all, please take a break, step away. You do not need to stay. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I am committed to doing 31 nights for the third year in a row. I myself am a survivor of narcissistic abuse. I endured social, intellectual, financial. I endured mental, emotional, and legal, verbal. I also endured physical abuse through anxiety, depression, complex PTSD, and I also have endured sexual abuse in the sense that I was 10 when I was first sexually abused, but I also endured sexual abuse in the relationship, not directly, but indirectly, in that narcissists often will future fake. And so he future faked the entire relationship. We never crossed the path of sexual intimacy, and yet his cheating with so many others was very triggering to my own childhood trauma of sexual abuse and not ever being good enough, physically speaking, because I have never been skinny, so to speak. And so that takes its toll on your own self esteem and self worth. And that was a button that he poked often. So I want to go ahead and now I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. Here we go.
And
It's
let me
too small.
see. I'm going to go to the real change page, make sure we are live.
Hmm.
We are indeed. Okay.
No.
So I want to.
Why is it so small? I'm not sure. Oh, here we go.
Take a moment
There we go.
and welcome everyone to Love Over Coffee. Voices Not Heard, although some people have said I need to change it to Voices Now Heard. This is a platform and a podcast for the marginalized, the silenced, and the abused. And tonight we are hosting a special story. We have with us Glenn and Claudia Sinkule, and I hope I have said the last name correct, although earlier I wasn't spelling it correctly. They have a daughter named Nicole, and we're going to talk about and give her story some voice because she is not here to do so. So I will tell you, Glenn and Claudia, I always start with the same question, and that is tell us who you are, tell us where you've been, and tell us where you're going. And that will include your past, your present, your future, and whatever you feel comfortable and safe sharing. So, welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you, and it's good to be here. Thank you for inviting us. Do you want to start sharing your past, future, that's a lot to ask. Our future or past and, okay, but we'll see what we can do.
I'll try a little
Well,
bit.
tell us who you are first.
I'm Glenn Sinkule. And,
I
Claudia
see.
Sinkule. And Claudia Sinkule.
and I was born in Detroit, moved out to the suburbs. Auto industry took a dive, lost my position at the Renaissance Center and moved out to California and been here ever since.
Wow.
83, we moved into the desert here.
Wow. Yeah, in Detroit, it's a city that hasn't really bounced back. It's a lot of depression economically still. My father was in the union, so I know that cycle well. So, okay. Well, thank you and welcome.
Yeah, I'm a 30-year union carpenter.
Oh, okay. My dad was sheet metal.
Ah, wow.
Yeah. So, Claudia, tell us about yourself. Now, we can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There, better, much better.
Better. Okay. I'm Claudia and Glenn and I are co-founders with the Nicole Sinkule Foundation. We met in Michigan and this is going to go, I don't know if I should say this since we're live, but well, we met and we spent the night together and we've been together ever since. We got married a year later and we never dated and we've been together 45 years now.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so it's been good and bad. You know, it's been a struggle working through the years that we lost Nicole. Men and women grieve differently. And, but, you know, we have God on our side and that's who we fall back on. And so,
You know, I was thinking when I was making my coffee in the kitchen, I had a feeling that the two of you had been together for quite some time. And, you know, my parents were as well. And I think about, you know, I'm sure in some way Nicole wanted nothing more than to reproduce what her parents had. And I think sometimes with that effort and that idea in our head, it sometimes makes us stay beyond the time we should, especially when it comes to an abusive relationship, because we want it to somehow be the way it was in the beginning, only to realize that the beginning was a little bit of a sort of a story and a lie or whatever you want to call it. You know, it wasn't exactly what we thought it was, but we always want to try to get back to that place. And so I was thinking, like I said, when I was sitting in the kitchen, you know, many of us want what so many older people achieved in ways that it seemed easy. You just make it work. But it's not like that today. It's not as easy, and it's not as easy to learn how to set those boundaries. So tell me and tell us, where have you been in regard to Nicole?
well, I think we've been to hell and back and we keep repeating the cycle because now the person that took her life is trying for his third time to get parole. And so we're just living in rawness, really, and trying to do the best we can to go forward.
So do you want to tell us, again, what you feel comfortable and safe sharing? What is Nicole's story?
Okay, I'm going to.
And for
Took
some
some of
reason, your microphone, I guess you just are not maybe close enough.
Yeah,
so.
maybe I just keep leaning back. Is that better for you?
Yes, much better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna just I'm gonna read some of this the stuff that I've written over and over again, and then we'll talk a little bit about Nicole. So,
Okay.
let me get a little bit more light. Okay.
Now, Glenn, before we start, what ethnicity is the name Sinkule? What is that?
Slovak, Bohemian.
Okay. Okay. All right. Curious. Sorry.
Okay,
Okay.
no problem.
It's not a common name, so thank you. Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready. We're
Okay.
ready.
Okay, let me get closer. Okay, convicted murderer Eric Nathaniel Merrim will be up for parole in May 2023. He emotionally abused and manipulated and murdered our daughter Nicole Sinkule on October 16th, 2005, at the age of 25, as she slept with a broken leg. He beat Nicole to death with the claw part of the hammer, hitting her over 13 times and crushing her skull, and leaving the hammer embedded in her head. Then he fled and then went to wash his hands in the ocean. He was charged with second-degree murder and sentenced 16 years to life. And so I want to talk, though, that's the blunt of the story, but I would like Glenn to maybe tell you a little bit about Nicole now, if you want to hear about Nicole.
Yes, of course. And so first, let me get it straight. So she broke her leg and she was murdered while she was sleeping, and he is in prison for 15 to life, and they keep coming up with his parole hearings.
Right.
How often are those hearings, Claudia?
Well, he got 16 to life. The one extra year was because the violence of the murder. And so this is his third time since 2019. 2019, he was denied because he was, they said he was a danger. He was still too much of a danger, and they gave him 5 more years. But within 2.5 years, he was allowed to go up for parole again. And at that 2.5 year mark, when we went for his next parole hearing, he was recommended parole. And so we had to go to the governor and fight that, and the governor reversed it, and now he's going up again in May. But that's where we're at right now.
And everything I've read, the articles that you sent, and I did some research and stuff like that. I don't get the impression that he's remorseful at all.
No, he's not.
No.
Most people that do that take the weapon with them. He made a decision to leave it in her skull, and that's not rational thinking. And
it was like he said, "I'm finished."
Yeah.
You know, and what I would like to know, 17 years incarcerated, and if he's let out, what's he going to do with all the anger that he's held? Because he didn't take it out on those men in there. So what is he going to do with he's going to find another sleeping beauty somewhere. And because he was at our older daughter's bedroom window that same night he murdered Nicole. Someone chased him away. So we could have lost both of them that night.
So then let's talk about Nicole, because she was just 25. So how long had she been involved with this individual? What kind of person was she? Tell us.
But for one thing, Nicole was a pretty girl, but she didn't know that she was pretty. She didn't accept that. And actually, she was beautiful. And
Can you lean in, Glenn, a little bit to the microphone too?
sure.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
She had a little bounce to her step. Everybody was her best friend. She had a nickname for almost all her acquaintances, friends. he was a food spirit. We beat for retreat with the church and come back and got reports that she would be jumping off the open car pool.
Right.
With all her friends.
Well, the pictures that I saw of her are, she's just cute as a button. I mean, really beautiful. So how long had she known this guy? And I don't even want to really give his name because, you know, any kind of attention, sometimes that's what they're looking for, but notoriety and in being infamous. So what was their
Well,
relationship like?
Nicole met him in a bar, and they supposedly fell in love with each other. He was a meth addict. And of course, Nicole had magical thinking, and she thought that she could fix him or bring out the best in him. And the relationship was about 1.5 years. It was rocky. He was in rehab twice and kicked out of rehab because she thought that he could be the owner of rehab and he could be the boss and do what he wanted. And the second time he was kicked out of rehab, he murdered Nicole. Before that happened, I had personally talked to his father on the phone. And his father and his mother never once told Glenn and I they had a problem with their son. But after Nicole was murdered, we find out that he abused his girlfriend before Nicole. And she ran away from him for 2 different states, and she won't even write a letter today to help to keep him in. She's so afraid. But so he just took whatever his anger was and he just put it on Nicole. But his parents never warned us. So they just kind of, as far as I'm concerned, they dumped their son on our daughter for her to take care of him. And being the type of person she was going to rescue him, and she was going to help him, and she was going to help him get better and fix him and whatever. And she died for love. And
but they knew what type of person he was. And so
Say that again, Glenn.
They knew what type of person he was, and some of the, he was a bad boy even when he was young.
Right.
they knew.
Yeah.
And I wonder, he says he wants to get out of prison, and he wants to go hunting with his father. He wants to get married. He wants to make a Netflix movie of Folsom Prison and maybe win an Oscar. And this irrational thinking, and they were going to let him out. The two commissioners judged this and were going to let him out because he took 4 self-therapy classes in prison. And that's what moved him up the ladder.
His thinking sounds rather delusional. Has he been diagnosed with anything while he's been in prison? I mean, other than his addiction, I mean, that doesn't even seem normal.
They're not really diagnosed. He has a personality disorder. He was diagnosed first time in the first hearing. We don't know what that is. I would say it's like the isolation type of person, the disorder.
Antisocial.
Antisocial, but he presents with a flat effect. You know what that is? If you look it up, it's somebody that there's no emotion.
Right.
The whole hearing, there's no emotion. There's not even blinking his eyes. It's really eerie. And the district attorney, every time you talk to him, you can't get over how just like robotic he is.
Right. So
just want to take a moment and recap a little bit. You're listening to Claudia and Glenn Sinkule, their daughter Nicole at the age of 25, and this was many years ago. The perpetrator is in prison. but he is up for parole. In this video, he was up for parole in May, and they were gathering signatures at that time. However, the trial didn't happen in May because he got sick. And so they delayed the trial for his parole hearing until November. And so it's coming up. And her parents, Claudia and Glenn, have taken the month of October off to safeguard their own emotional well-being. They have fought several times for his staying in prison. This is now the third time they've gone to parole hearings, and they are currently co-founders of the Nicole Sinkule Foundation. So let us continue on. Thank you for being here. And remember, this is a trigger warning. So if this bothers you, I understand completely not staying. So thank you again for being here. Our goal tonight is 13 trumpets, I believe.
Because there obviously had to be a trial and everything.
Thank you.
And I mean, I know you've been dealing with this since 2005. But what is it like to, I guess in some ways, not have closure and to have to sit through a trial and watch someone, as you said, with no emotion, and to hear the horrific details of your daughter's death? I mean, I can't even, I just don't have, I don't have any words because I've never been through anything like that. So how have you handled this emotionally, and how have you gone on?
I think through the foundation and telling Nicole's story, it's twofold. It's healing for us and it helps others. There's not a time that we don't talk about Nicole, what we all went through as a family, including our older daughter, that doesn't touch somebody. And, you know we can't change anybody, but, maybe a light goes on, and it does, because we have people contact us and tell us it does.
So when did you start the foundation, and what are some of your goals of the foundation?
We started the foundation, I think it was a couple months, November after Nicole died, 2005. And up to this point, our goals have been just to tell Nicole's story. And when we lived in San Diego, we went around and spoke to domestic violence groups. Now that we're in the desert, we don't do that so much. I guess we're doing it now. But,
right, doing it now.
Yeah, right. So that's been our goal up to now. And we're regrouping come this new year. And so we've got some other goals that are coming up. It's for the board. We're putting together a board. So the foundation's growing, and it's things are just happening really fast. And so I'm just we're just seeing where God drops us.
So what do you think some of the goals are? Well, so for the new year, I know you're facing another time when he could be released. So I know that you're prepping for that. You have a petition. And so on the Real Change page, for those of you who are tuned in and watching from the Real Change page, please be sure to like and share out that petition. But what are some of your other goals for the foundation moving forward?
Well, we have a goal that we are going to have an event, probably sometime January, February. It's all just kind of fell in our laps, and it's called the Vault, and it's it's a dispensary, a cannabis dispensary, and it's an old bank, and they have events there, and they have, we'll have it, they want to do it. It's in our city where we live, and they want to take this on. They want to do it as a community event for domestic violence. And so that's what is in the making right now. And we plan to have music there. I called up one of my friends in the desert, and he goes, "That's a great venue."
No.
First he said, "I don't know, I'm kind of busy." And I'm like, "Well, it's the Vault," because I don't know that much about it. He goes, "That's a great venue." He goes, "Better contact me." So when it all comes out, we'll be advertising it, but that will be one of our goals. And I don't even know if we're gonna collect money, sell tickets. I
I
don't
was
even
gonna
know
say,
how
is
it's
it
all
gonna
gonna
be a
come out.
fundraiser, so to speak? I mean, do you have, I mean, obviously with any kind of foundation of this nature, bringing awareness to Nicole's story and to domestic violence, I know is a piece of that picture. But what do you have any goals, I guess, for other women who are, or men who are going through domestic abuse at all, in order to help them in any way, or services or anything like that? Or have you just not gotten that far?
Well, we thought about getting billboards if the monster ever gets out, and put him in the community that he's settling in, and showing a picture from our foundation. And do you want this person living in your neighborhood?
Right.
Because if no woman is safe if she likes to take a nap, that's all Nicole was doing, is taking a nap. So we got to get the word out,
Well, I think one of
and
the
him
goals-
in. He's got to stay in or die of old age.
Well, and I know that at one point, did Nicole have an EPO against him?
a restraining order, yes.
Okay, yeah, they're called emergency protection orders, temporary restraining orders, the DVO, domestic violence order.
So, Angel, thank you for your question. They have a petition that can be signed, and I will be sure to share that link out on my personal page on TikTok. I'll also share it on the Real Change page, REEL Change, because, like I said, he will be coming up again for parole in November.
They have various names in various states. So when did she file that against
I'm
him?
not sure when she filed it, because we were living in the desert at the time, but Glenn was with her when she dropped it.
Mm.
2004.
2003, 2004.
Yes.
So he was with her, and the judge
That-
warned against it.
Yeah, the judge said, "You sure you want to do this?" And I really highly recommend that you don't. And she died from love.
The judge knew what would happen.
As you said, she thought she could help him with his addiction, and that somehow many of us think love will somehow conquer all, only to find out that it doesn't.
I do want to make you aware, most states now, if you file an EPO and it is violated, sometimes they can go to jail, but sometimes they can just get a fine or something like that. But at the same time, if you call the police and charges are filed by the police, the individual who filed the charges is the only one who can drop them. So many times after an arrest, the victim wants to drop the charges, Because again, you have to remember the victim is thinking that they will change. The victim is thinking that something is wrong with them and that something will change, and they'll go back to being the way they were and that everything will be fine. A long time ago, the victim could drop the charges. And when the victim dropped the charges, then nothing ever happened. So sometimes someone could be arrested many times and the charges dropped many times. And now in most states, the charges are picked up by the state and are carried forward. So sometimes, good or bad, this can actually put the individual in harm, because it can anger the individual, because the state now takes over the charges. So the victim is no longer involved but cannot stop what is happening. And so when the police or the prosecuting attorney pursues the charges, it's another way to put the victim in harm. I know that I have two friends. One in particular had an EPO out on her boyfriend at the time, and he broke the EPO. And when he broke the EPO, the police put out an APB on him, an all points bulletin. But before they could find him, he found her and he murdered her in the front yard of her mom's home in front of the children. And from that point forward, my city decided if an individual breaks the EPO, they do not put out an APB on the individual because it angered him. It escalated the violence, and he went and he did what he had threatened many times. So we do have to be aware of the basically the laws in every state, because they can vary a little bit. I don't know. Let me go back. So, as Karen is saying, on the Real Change page or on my personal page, in Hawaii for DV cases, the state prosecuted and the target cannot stop the charges. If there is a visible injury, the abuser has mandatory 1 year in jail. For Gina, I actually don't know. I don't know how she broke her leg, and I don't remember if I asked. Yes, they were together when he came into her home. The she had dropped the EPO against him, and the judge even asked her if she was sure she wanted to, but she did anyway. Let me see. We don't know if he'll be released with conditions. I don't know. Again, they're fighting to keep him in. I'm reading some comments that are appearing on the personal page or on the Real Change page. All right, so let's go back and finish the interview.
In fact, it keeps us stuck.
I will tell you this, Tina, that one of the goals of the foundation has always been the foundation goal, is to just be open to anyone. See, we're like a soft place to fall. Okay, people hear our story, it's like, we're not hiding too much. And And so they feel that they can contact us. Once they contact us, we can direct them to places that they can get help. And I feel that the first step is reaching out. Once you reach out, it's in the light, and then you can make your steps. So that's where the foundation's at now. I think that's what will continue, and wherever it grows, then we'll just try to
Right.
follow it.
Well, and much of the research shows that one of the most dangerous times in an abusive relationship is when you are getting ready to leave, making a plan, telling no one. Those are difficult things to do. But making a plan is hard when you don't know what options are out there. Many people are financially controlled, and so therefore they are stuck. So you're right. Using your voice and reaching out is one of the hardest things. As a survivor myself, and having endured a great deal of the mental and emotional, as well as financial, that's been the hardest thing. It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, because I knew talking about it would at least do something. I don't know what necessarily, but I know that if we don't talk about it, we certainly cannot get anywhere. And talking
Exactly.
about it is hard, but that's just part of what we find ourselves in, is trying to figure that part out and asking for help.
If you don't put it out there, nothing happens.
Right.
If you
Right.
don't put it out there, just if it's in the universe and it feels negative to you, you don't have to take it, but put it out there.
Right. Right. So continuing to be a soft place to fall, maybe doing some events.
Mhm.
What other thoughts are you thinking about for the foundation as you roll forward?
I haven't thought too much past that. I've been consumed with getting the petition and getting podcasts so we can get the word out. That's been my concern. Maybe one of these days we can get a law change that will stop these murderers, violent murderers. I mean, this guy is not just a gangbanger where they kill each other. That's their profession, killing each other, right? No, he killed an innocent person in her sleep. And violent murderers should not be let out. Violent murderers should not be let out.
This case could be a gauge on where we are as a society.
If this monster is allowed out, it's a good mark gauge, a benchmark of where we're at in this society.
So that might, that might be a little bit down the line, but right now, the main thing is keeping him in, and that's all they give us to fight with: petitions,
I was
letters,
going to say,
and
so
media.
how many signatures are on the petition? Because this is not the first petition, right?
Right. This is our third petition, and at the moment, last I checked this morning, we had close to 1,500, and it's going to run till April. I'm going to leave it up till April, and the last petition got 8,000. That went to the governor. The one before that got 3,000. But I don't know if Nicole's story is getting old to some people, but we still need the help. We still need the help to keep him in. I mean, it's not old to us, and it's not going to be old if he moves in
It's
next door
never
to
going
you.
to be old to you. I mean, that's the thing. Have you been able to actually have conversations up close and personal with the governor or any other legal individual?
We did through that. That's why we got with his secretary, we did have a meeting, and she listened to our story. Yes. And he looked over all the evidence, and he commented on the good that this murderer has done in prison. He's being a good boy and following all the rules. And you know, this prisoner, this murderer, has a BA in psychology. His
Oh,
father,
grief.
his father's a retired psychiatrist in Napa. His mother has degree in psychology, but was a teacher, and his brother's a lawyer. So, you know, this is what we're dealing with. And
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, he had his own business in Napa. And so
So he knows how to play a little bit.
a lot. Yes, a lot.
Mhm.
Very manipulative. And in the last hearing, we sat down and well, he spoke, and then we started on our side. And once our front person spoke, Jules, you might meet Jules sometime. He said, I gotta go to the bathroom right in the middle of the hearing. It was Zoom. It was a Zoom meeting. And it was odd that he did that. But we were told that he wanted to control the meeting. That's why he did that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I know in my own situation, I was with a narcissistic sociopath, and they play lots of games and they're very good at them. And over time, they perfect them. So I can only imagine the stuff that Nicole heard that probably convinced her that he wanted to be better than he was, when really was he even capable of being better than he was. Do you have any history of his upbringing? You know, how long had he been an addict? Do you know anything at all about his history? You mentioned that his ex had an order against him, but prior to that, how old was he, by the way?
Can we come right back to that, Tina?
Yes.
Just a short thing. The murderer, he seduced Nicole's mind.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He was
No, and Glenn, you're exactly right, because that is where, that is where abuse begins, is right here, because they're playing a game and you are unaware, and you see something they portray as honest, only to find out later that it's anything but. But as I said, with just like with an addiction, and I don't mean it to say just like, but it is an addiction. The abuse cycle, you know, it's like that high that you get the first time that you meet the individual and all the things they tell you. Those are the things that groom you. And those are the things you can never get back to. But in your mind, they were present and they were honest. And that is what, you are correct. That is what seduces you. That is what grooms you. And that is what you hunt for and search for and wait for and long for, only to find out that that is part of the manipulation, and it doesn't really exist, but in your mind it does. And the mind is a powerful tool, and it does not give up those memories easily at all. So I agree with you completely.
So I'll answer that question. We'll go back to your question, Tina. He was 25. He's considered a youth offender. Anyone under 26 is a youth offender. He would have been 26 in 45 days. So they kind of look at that, but they don't. But he could go, if they want to be, he could go under youth offender. What else were your questions about? How old he was, and
about his past.
He was
childhood,
25. He grew, oh yes, he grew up in, what? If I was just going through the first hearing transcript, and he talks about that he went to a private school. He grew up, you know, it sounds like a good family. Um, they moved. He went to a public school. He was going out for the Olympics. He was going to be a javelin thrower. And then at that same time, he came home and he seen his mother belittling his father and his father's head down. And he said he's never going to let anyone control him again. So this is where I think things started. When he was 16, he started drinking and using drugs and saying they were his friend. So when he gets out of prison, no one's going to want to be his friend. Who's going to be his friend? Drugs and drinks. So, you know, that was it. He had, from the age 16 to 25, he had 4 months of sobriety in the outside world. 4
Wow.
months. And so the only reason he's sober now is because, and we don't even know if he's sober.
Well, I was gonna say, prison does not necessarily negate drug use. It's available. It's present. It's not an impossibility to get. So
Yeah. So, you know, that's it. That's about where we're at. And yeah, his parents, after he murdered Nicole, they sent us a check for $500. And
what was that for?
it felt like blood money. That's what it felt like. And so we donated it to domestic violence house.
Second house.
Yeah, in San Diego. But yeah, it felt like blood money. It felt like they were giving us $500 to clear their conscience. And
Like 500 is going to do a damn thing. I mean,
you could give us
Yeah,
$1 million.
right.
Yeah.
My goodness. Well,
There-
I know, let's see, we're coming up on the 30 minutes. I know I do want to give Debbie a chance as well. And I know she's gonna come on in the last few minutes.
Mhm.
So when you go to trial, you said he gets a turn and then you get a turn. Do you get to give like a victim impact statement? Is that what happens? Or explain to us the process.
The process is there's 21 commissioners in San Diego. Each time it's called a hearing, a parole hearing, you get 2 commissioners. Everyone in the family gets to make a statement and we can have a support person. And now they're doing it on Zoom. So he's by himself in the prison on Zoom, or whatever, the guard or whoever he's with, his lawyer, and we're in our home. And then he talks. The first time he told us everything. And the second time he told us very little, only about what he did to get out of there. And then the 2 parole commissioners go in a room and make their decision and come back and tell you yes or no. And this last time they came back and they said, even though it was a horrific crime and this and that, he's proven himself to get out, I guess, more or less. And so they were recommending him parole. And so we had to do another petition and petition the governor. And thank God he reversed it.
Right. So if he were, God forbid, if he were to get parole, how soon could he be out? After a hearing, like in May.
Yeah, I am not sure. I want to say it would be like with 6 months to a year. It's not immediately. They have paperwork and everything like that to do.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Now,
he
does he
either
have
wants to,
siblings? Does he
He
have
has-
a brother or sister?
He has an older sister, the same age as our older daughter. And Nicole thought she had so much in common with him because
Mm.
he was brought up in a Christian family. And the ages, of her and him and his brother, she just thought, and yeah. I miss her a lot. I miss her. We're sitting in the house she was raised in. We left this house for 16 years and rented it out, and we came back 3 years ago. So we're back in the same community. We're down the street from some of the people that used to babysit her.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know what's going to happen with this community event, but I do know that the desert needs to know about domestic violence. They don't know about it out here, and they're learning. They're learning about it.
I think many people, I know in my own situation, because there was no physical violence, I didn't recognize it as such. Someone used the term domestic violence when it came to the financial side of it. And, and I kept saying, but he's never hit me, but he's never, and I didn't equate the two things. And I never knew what narcissism was. I had no idea what a narcissistic sociopath was, and the stages of because the abuse cycle, many times we hear about the honeymoon cycle after they have been cruel, but we never hear about the love bombing, the way in which, as you mentioned, Glenn, the way they seduce your mind, the way they groom you. We don't really hear about that love bombing. And then they go into the physical abuse or the devaluation or the manipulation, the physical violence. We kind of know about that stage. But again, I don't know if we really understand all of it. And then in the narcissism, they will discard you, like they will get rid of you if you are not someone that they can get what they want from, or they start to realize that they are losing control of you. Then they up the game, and sometimes with narcissism they'll start the smear campaign, all of the things that are, they just make up stories and they spin all kinds of things. But when there is physical violence, so when Nicole had the restraining order against him, was it at that point for physical violence?
Well, he had at one point dragged her out of the restaurant she worked in. And so that was the only physical violence that we knew of. It was all manipulation and emotional until.
And he jumped into the ocean, and then when he was in the police car,
Say it again, Glenn.
jumped into the ocean after that. And afterwards, he kicked out the windshield, I believe, in the police car, or one of the windows.
Yeah, he's got a violent history, and a violent with Nicole history as well.
Right.
And they feel that they failed Nicole. The system failed Nicole.
I was going to say, because
Yes.
when you look back now, other than the judge saying, "Are you sure about this?" what more do you think they could have done prior to, but then also since her death, her murder?
Well, at that time, just reread the article. his lawyer said that he had passed his anger management classes. And so he went to all those things. And so, you can say anything, but if the heart's not changed, so, and anybody listening, you gotta stop the magical thinking. You just gotta see it for what it is, because Nicole didn't. And it's magical thinking, and you can't change someone like that. You can't. And the best thing to do is get away. And if they change on their own, maybe in the future, but
Right.
you can't do it.
Right. Hmm.
There was a TV personality that
Somebody said, kick him to the street, this TV personality. And that's what Nicole did. She wrapped all his belongings in a black bag and kicked him to the street, so to speak.
and is that what you think set him off? Not that he really needed anything. To be
No.
honest, I mean, he could have
He
been
was stalking
anything.
her. He was stalking her for months in the restaurant she worked in. He would hide in the bushes. He was stalking her. And, I took her home that night because we had just moved out to the coast. And a month later, we had a little family dinner to see our new house, and everyone went home, and Glenn went to bed, and I took her home that night. I stayed with her 2 hours. He came to the house to pick her up, and she looked frightened, and I sent him away. But she dared me to take her home that night. I did, and I stayed with her 2 hours. And then her neighbor stayed with her. And that's when it all happened. When I went home, he was stalking her, and then came back and drank with the neighbor. And it all happened.
So that answers your question, Gina, Sweet Corner Girl. They were not together at the time. I'm amazed that they asked her in court that she shouldn't do it. Are you sure? But asking a victim if they're sure about anything is a sure way to get no answer that makes sense to anyone, because the victim is so confused. The complex PTSD is so real. How could they even ask a young girl of 25, are you sure? Because she was nowhere near capable of making that decision. And you're right, the EPO would not have stopped him. Their thinking is so bizarre. They believe they are justified. He thought she was evil when he was projecting. This is a huge red flag. Yes, absolutely, Gina. All right, let me go back. Thank you to all who are watching and listening, gifting and sharing. We are doing 31 nights of Love Over Coffee to bring awareness to the issue of domestic violence. Please be forewarned, if this is a trigger warning, or if this is a trigger for you, you are most welcome to, not participate, not listen. So thank you so much for those of you who are here.
What has this been like for your other daughter?
Here's and he's going to come. He has he despises women, and he has contempt for them. And she thinks she's still on his list. Everyone, my wife's testified against him 3 times.
Right.
So, this family is not too safe. And I told one of the referees at one of the hearings, I said, what do I have to do to protect my family now? You tell me what the limit is. And I never did get an answer to that.
Hmm.
Our older daughter is just now starting to get her life together. She's had it together, but on the outside, not the inside. And now she's getting it together on the inside, but it's been 17 years. They were very close. And it almost destroyed. Oh, we actually lost 2 daughters when he did that, because it pretty much destroyed our older daughter for a long time. And now yeah, she's got a life and she's happy now. And yeah, I thank God that he didn't get to both of them. And I know in my heart at times I thought, well, I can forgive him because I don't want him dead anymore. I can forgive him. That means I forgave him. But how do you forgive somebody that keeps ripping you open? I'm not that big. I'm not God. And I can't do that. I just can't. And yeah, so
Right.
it's yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's one thing for the wound to heal, but it's impossible for it to heal when you have to keep going
Yes.
before judges and all of these things, to basically keep him in prison. Have you thought about? Oh, I know Glenn just mentioned it a little bit, but have you really thought about what will happen if he's out?
Well, yeah, I think everybody that has a child murdered would think about what they would do if the murderer got out. I don't want to say things
Right. No, I get it.
live, my thoughts, but we're just going to have to rely on, God's strength and giving us strength if it happens, and just continue to go forward with bringing forth some kind of law. I don't know what that is at this point.
Right.
But I know that victims and victims of the victims can't keep living like this.
Right. I was going to say, are you working with any other foundations that have a similar goal or story or anything like that?
We're involved. We're involved with a lot of them. And we do tell our stories. Some have written our stories. And so, yeah, we're involved.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, let us bring Debbie on. Debbie, I know you've been listening in the background. So Debbie is
Take
the
on.
one who brought this story to our attention. This is Debbie's first book, Torched, Burnt by a Gaslighter. Tell us, I guess, what got you involved, and what do you hope to gain by being able to give some proceeds to the Nicole Sinkule, if I can say that right. I'll
Yes,
get it.
thank you.
I'll get it
Perfect.
yet.
Yeah.
Foundation. So, welcome, Debbie.
Well, thank you, Tina, and Glenn and Claudia. It's great to see you guys again.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi. I wrote Torched. It's a fictional story based on true events. And it took me 5 weeks to write something that was 25 years in the making. I was silent for all of those years. And it actually started 45 years ago and put up with most of it 25, for a good 25 years. And I had gotten this stirring, in my gut, I guess, that God wanted me to do something, but I didn't quite know what. And I thought it was this one avenue that I was going down, but those doors kind of quickly closed. And I met someone who had just written his story. and listening to him, and there's trauma involved in his story. And I thought, well, maybe I should write mine. And I know people have asked me or have mentioned in the past that knew some details, just like, how do you stay so calm with all some of the chaos that I was dealing with? And my response was always, God. God has been the one that has provided and kept strengthened me when I needed that strength. And so I decided to write the story. And one of the things that I was looking to do is to kind of leave a legacy. And I was thinking about starting a foundation, but really when I started looking at all the work involved, I remembered Glenn and Claudia. Glenn and I met early 2000s. We went to Biola University and got our Bachelor's of Science in Organizational Leadership through Biola. And we pretty much have stayed in touch, on and off throughout these years. So I reached out to them and said, this is what I'm doing. And I'm not looking to make money. I'm looking to raise awareness. And, would you, be open to, me sharing 50% of the book sale profits with the foundation? So they were all on board, and that pretty much brings us to the present, where we're just starting to find ways of getting the word out, raising the awareness, getting the petitions, the signatures for the petitions, which, by the way, Claudia and Glenn, if I understand correctly, you do not need to be a resident of California to sign that petition.
Absolutely right.
So
Correct.
I know I signed it when you sent it to me, Claudia. I did.
yeah, so for anyone listening, I just want to make sure that that's clear, that if you want to get involved, just sign the petition. So that kind of brings me to the present with telling my story in a roundabout way, and helping a foundation, and again bringing awareness. The violence, we have to stop it. And I'm currently reading a book The Body Keeps the Score. And it's amazing how many, starting with young people, they deal with some kind of trauma, and a lot of either domestic violence, alcoholic homes, you name it, and it's there. And we wonder why we keep perpetuating the violence. So
They used to say that, lots of people always wanted to say that marijuana was the gateway drug. It's actually trauma. Trauma is the gateway drug into addiction.
Yeah.
And it is an escape for many whose lives have not been, that's why I say, we don't know. Sure, his parents may seem like both are, educated and have jobs and good jobs and all of that. But, you still wonder what you said, this event when he was 16, but what about before 16? There had to be a history of something. And some of it we may never completely understand, or be able to figure out exactly what happened or when. But there's a lot of clues. And I think in general, our culture also is creating a lot of very entitled individuals, a lot of trauma as a culture. And then it's magnified within certain groups. No matter the statistics toward men who are abused, the predominance is still women who are abused. And you'll see different numbers, but usually it is 1 out of 4 for women. And again, we know that many don't tell. I've seen 1 out of 6 for men. I've also seen 1 out of 9, but again, we know that it's underreported because, as we've all talked about, there is a stigma that what happens in the home should stay in the home, and not everyone needs to know about everyone's personal business. And, I can remember looking back at my own trauma in the abuse situation that I was in, and being told not everyone needs to know what goes on between the two of us, our ups and our downs. And now I realize that, we didn't want anyone to know that we were involved, because that meant he couldn't play as openly with other people if they knew he was involved. So it's an interesting cycle. So Debbie and I are going to try to do a book club in Clubhouse to hopefully help raise more funds. It will be a private event. It will be on Zoom. So I am in the process of reading the book. I'm sure that I think Debbie and I talked about breaking it up into sections and coming up with questions and things like that. So we'll put more information out there. Debbie, where can people find the book right now? Where is it?
There's a couple of places. If you want an autograph copy, you can order it on my website, which is www.brokentoboldness.com. Or you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Walmart. There's also on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, you can order the Kindle ebook format as well. So it's in paperback and electronic format.
Okay. Well, we're coming down on the last few minutes. Glenn and Claudia, I want the two of you to have the final word. So as we close out, and Clubhouse seems quiet tonight. Many people will probably watch and listen to the replay. The same thing happens on the Real Change page. Many people will catch the replay. Claudia, I do want you to know that you can go to that page and share it out as now an audio and video. It will not be deleted. It will always be there. But I do want to give the two of you some opportunity for some closing thoughts. So.
Go ahead, Claude.
Well, I just would like to say that if you're in a situation and you feel something's wrong, don't ignore those feelings. Something is wrong. Seek help, be safe, make a safety plan, and learn how to keep yourself safe and others, because these people don't change, and your life is valuable, and the people you leave behind miss you terribly. And just that's all I have to say. Sign our petition if you feel it in your heart. You don't need to give us any money, just sign the petition and share it. That would be enough, and prayers. And just, you can follow us on Facebook, and that's it. Thank you for hearing our story and letting us share about Nicole.
Oh, you are most welcome. I do want people to know that the petition, the foundation, the book, all those things are on the Real Change page. So you can find information about all those things. Once the book club is set, we'll get that going, because as Debbie said, 50% of the proceeds from the sale of the book are going into the foundation. So it is a significant endeavor moving forward. Do you know the date yet, Claudia? I know you said May of 23, but has the date been set?
No, they surprise us with letters in the mail. So we just got a letter. And
I'm going to stop there because this was taped in December, They were anticipating his parole hearing in May of 23. It got delayed because of his own illness, and therefore it is now coming up in November. My guest tomorrow will be Debbie Griffiths. She will give us some updates about her book, and what other things that she is doing at this time. So we will catch up with her tomorrow night live. I do want to say, so Debbie will be live tomorrow, in regard to her book, Torched. Karen Smith, who you see often, she's been on TikTok and she's over here on the Real Change page. Karen will be our guest on Sunday. So Karen is a good friend of mine that I met through Clubhouse. She was in a 33-year relationship, and she's going to talk about who she is, where she's been, and where she's going. And congratulations to her son, Will, who just got married. Will is a personal trainer and self-defense coach. He, along with another gentleman who work for victims who have to go to court and face the abuser, Phil, he will be here as well. So Karen will be here Sunday. Lakeisha will be here on Monday. Lakeisha Walker is a human sex trafficking survivor, but she's going to talk a little bit about the trauma that led her into that kind of situation, because part of her story is there is what's called a Romeo pimp, and we will talk more about that on Monday. I do have some open dates: the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th. I do have some guests who are still in the process of confirming. On October 21st, Takesha Wade will be here, and we will do some updates in regard to Gabby Petito's case and a couple of other high-profile domestic violence cases. Hello. So I just want to say again, thank you so much for being here. I know that these are not easy conversations. These are not easy to hear, easy to know, easy to believe, easy to understand. So just please keep tuning in. If trigger is an issue for you, I understand completely. At least maybe log on long enough to share it out. So I'm on the Real Change page, REEL Change, on the book. I also have my personal page is completely public. So Tina M. Durbin on the book. I am Tina _ Love Over Coffee 1111 on TikTok and on Instagram, although I haven't been as busy on Instagram, I'll be honest. I also have two groups. One is called Real Change LLC, and I also have another group called 1111 Messages of Hope from Angels. Both have been neglected, I'll be honest, but they are still present and active, especially during these 31 nights. And I also have a YouTube page. So Real Change LLC 432 on YouTube. If you like me here, go like me in one of those other places. It just helps to get the algorithm up. Make a comment, say love it, whatever. And it just basically gets the algorithm going on YouTube, on the book, wherever. Karen Smith has a page called Cluster B Free Karen Smith. She'll share all her links tomorrow. Karen, I need a picture. Karen, I need a picture. Of course, it's like 5 hours behind us in Hawaii where she is, so she's still got time. But she'll be here Sunday. Debbie will be here tomorrow. Lakeisha will be here on Monday. Takesha will be here on the 21st. So we still have a lot going on. There are a couple of other members from the community, junk journaling, that may join us at some point. I promise if you come on, I'll hold your hand virtually. I'll do what I can to walk you through. It's not easy to find your voice. And when you find it, it's also not easy to express it. So I'm here to do what I can to help. 31 nights, tonight, night 13, tomorrow, night 14. And it will be Love Over Coffee, Voices Not Heard. This is a platform and a podcast for the marginalized, the silenced, and the abused. So thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. But I will tell you that a few of us are going to craft tonight. So after I log off, I'm going to clean my desk space off a little bit, and I'll be back crafting tonight. A little bit of self-love and self-care. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to say goodnight on TikTok. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you back probably around 10:30, 10:45, probably be closer to 10:45. So love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Take care. All right. And now I'm over here on the Real Change page. Thank you so much for your love and your likes and your support over here as well. I appreciate your presence. I am trying to multitask, so I apologize if I missed something. I am going to post the petition on the Real Change page as well as on my personal page, so be on the lookout for that. I know that his date's coming up in early November, so we'll be watching. Keep you posted. Thank you again so much for being here, and thanks again. So I'm going to end the stream. See you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace, love, and light. Go drink some coffee, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.